The U.S. government spent over $13 billion on building a tunnel at Yucca Mountain, not far from Las Vegas, with the hope that nuclear waste would one day be stored underground here in perpetuity. Last spring, President Obama cut funding for the project. Roads are still our priority. When I look at this, I'm reminded of the Orson Welles film, The Magnificent Ambersons, where cars are blamed for the downfall of society. I decided to shoot this project in a series of trips. In my studio, I had a map of the United States stuck with color-coded pushpins. Blue for coal, red for nuclear, green for wind, yellow for been there, and so on. My studio manager Ryan and I would plot my next trip while staring at the map, feeling a bit like generals making strategy for battle. Before I could leave, dozens of queries went out to corporate public relations, plant managers, government bureaus, people living off the grid or stewing up biodiesel, congressional aides, and cheap motels. But as I've already said, many of my favorite pictures were the result of serendipity, like this picture which I found by accident. These next few photographs were made on the Gulf Coast following Hurricane Katrina. By that time, scientists had connected the dots between burning fossil fuels, climate change, and extreme deadly weather. Katrina symbolizes the consequences of our harmful energy policies and energy-guzzling supersize-me culture. This picture was made on Dauphine Island, Alabama, where a battered oil rig washed ashore. After Hurricane Katrina, the art insurance company AXA flew in a team of New York City policemen to secure the New Orleans Museum of Art. I like the weirdness of seeing cookies, a shotgun, and examination gloves in the foreground of the Grand Classical Museum entrance. This project is a kind of chronicle of the Bush-Cheney era, with its rapacious environmental policies and partnerships with big oil and corporate coal. These pictures have an underlying current of the constant anxiety I felt photographing in a country on high alert. George W. Bush engendered paranoia and jacked up Homeland Security, which meant I was stopped and interrogated many times. The worst of my confrontations with the law occurred in West Virginia in 2004. I was stopped by a sheriff for standing on public land and pointing my camera at a coal stack a half a mile away. She made an impression getting out of her SUV in a red halter top and pressed black pants, and across her chest a double-sided leather holster equipped with 2 handguns and a string of bullets. My first thought was how to convince this contemporary Annie Oakley to let me make her portrait. I restrained myself. But my cooperation did not stop her from calling in reinforcements, including the FBI, for a more comprehensive interrogation. During nearly 2 hours of questioning by 6 law enforcement officials, I was told, "You can't just go pointing your camera at these infrastructures anymore, you know. And if you were Muslim, you'd be cuffed and taken in for questioning." When it was over, I was angry. I took for granted my freedom to photograph in public places in the United States. It was my constitutional right. But now cops and the FBI threw me out of town more than once and inspected my pictures. My anger became fuel. I wanted to make pictures that would express the tension and fear I felt from contending with Homeland Security. Ironically, on my second trip to West Virginia, when I made this picture at the Amos Coal Power Plant, the public relations officer there greeted me warmly. I didn't understand. No one in the coal industry had welcomed me. It turned out, to my delight, he owned a copy of my book, Recreation, and asked me to sign it. In the style of 19th century painting and photography of the American West, this picture of the Hoover Dam is a rendering of nature's awesomeness. But look closer and you can see the diminishing waterline, the so-called bathtub ring. The ring is a result of a more than 10-year drought, as well as the siphoning off of water to nearby Las Vegas for luxury hotels and golf courses. Water itself has become more valuable than the electricity it can produce. The dramatic view gives way to human-scale details, highway lights, cars, and the clocks that read 2 different times, Arizona on one side of the dam, Nevada on the other. I photographed this glacier in Alaska. In Point Richmond, California, is the Chevron oil refinery. Trees became a leitmotif in this body of work. This is Oildale, California. This is the world's biggest truck stop on Interstate 80 in Iowa. Conley Terminal, Boston. You're looking at the Chalmette oil refinery in New Orleans. The stand of oaks once led to a plantation house. They now lead to an ExxonMobil refinery. The trees serve as attendants. Timeless, they function beyond the temporality of our interventions. They have a Gothic, ominous quality to them that suggests they will eventually take over. My work questions all kinds of energy. The photograph of the burnt-out turbine suggests that no perfect, easy solution exists. When I was making this photograph, I wasn't sure what it meant. The burnt turbine in a sea of functioning turbines simply struck me, so I photographed it.